Our speaker is Saida Heshmati from Claremont Graduate University, United States. Today, she presents her talk on the topic, Cultural Consensus Theory, an overview of a culturally informed and novel approach to studying love in daily life.
Hi everyone, my name is Saida Heshmati. I am an assistant professor at Claremont Graduate University in Claremont, California, United States, and I am here today to talk to you about cultural consensus theory, a novel approach to study love in everyday life with a culturally informed lens. So why study love? We all know that love is a complex phenomenon and it's very fundamental to human experience, but defining such a complex phenomenon is very complicated. Love is shaped by both personal as well as societal and cultural kind of factors in people's lives. And what is considered as loving usually varies across cultures. For example, if you think about daily text check-ins, in some cultures it is seen as controlling, and in other cultures it's seen as a sign of care and love. So why should we use a cultural perspective? Traditional approaches usually focused on the study of love through an individual perspective. So we wanted to understand how individuals experience and understand love. However, a cultural approach really brings about the shared understanding of love within societies and cultures. This helps us understand what is universal about love and our feelings of love, and what is culturally specific and societally influenced. So we know through research that culture shapes emotions and love as some form of an emotion that is expressed or received, and how it's interpreted is also shaped by culture. For example, public displays of affection in some cultures might be interpreted as a loving gesture. However, in other cultures might make people uncomfortable and not as loving. So studying love through a cultural perspective really helps us understand these kind of human experiences beyond the personal biases that each individual might bring with themselves. So let's talk about cultural consensus theory. What is cultural consensus theory, and why do we use it to study love? So CCT, or cultural consensus theory, is a framework that identifies shared cultural beliefs within a group. This framework really originated from anthropology and ethnography. However, more recently, we are kind of adopting it to apply it in psychology, and specifically in the study of love. As we all know, love is subjective and culturally shaped. CCT here in this case helps us reveal those kind of shared schemas that might exist within a group or a culture. It really allows researchers to kind of identify these kind of shared beliefs without bringing in our own prior assumptions. So the CCT approach is a sequential exploratory mixed method design through which we first take a more kind of immersive approach to understanding feelings of love through people's own experiences in qualitative studies. We then use that information through that immersive kind of qualitative field work to inform our questionnaire that we will then apply quantitatively and use to model through computational models and extract these shared beliefs within a culture. Let me get into each of these phases a little bit more. So we first start with some immersive field work. What we do in this case is we want to go into the target culture of interest, and we want to immerse ourselves and really kind of understand feelings of love in everyday life from the perspective of the people in that culture. We do that by ethnographic field work, by observing people as they live their daily life in their natural kind of contexts. We also do it through focus groups and interviews. We conduct semi-structured interviews and conversations about love in people's daily lives within that target culture, and have a conversation around it. We then use that information to conduct some thematic analyses and identify those scenarios that are appropriate to the specific culture with regards to when they feel loved and when they might not actually feel loved. So in this next phase, we use the themes that were extracted from the qualitative data and the interviews, which was from a bottom-up approach, the responses that the people themselves gave us in terms of scenarios in which they felt loved and scenarios in which they don't feel loved. And we extract those themes and scenarios and we kind of compile them in a questionnaire that includes those scenarios in a list, and we conduct a quantitative data collection in which we basically collect information from a representative group of people from that same culture in terms of the census of that country or culture, and we ask them whether they agree or don't agree with these scenarios in terms of whether they make most people feel loved. So in this case, we're not interested in the person's own beliefs about themselves, but rather we're interested in the beliefs of the shared culture, right? So the prompt is most people feel loved when, and then they see a scenario, someone shows compassion towards them in difficult times, and they respond whether they think this is true, false, or they don't know the response to this. And so this is kind of our quantitative phase where we extract responses from people, from a bigger group of people that represent that society and culture. We then use the data collected in the quantitative surveys from the larger representative sample, and we model it through Bayesian cognitive psychometric modeling, which is a decision tree model that assesses the degree of agreement in the scenarios presented to the participants. And through this model, we try to identify those items that have high agreement or high consensus within the culture, and those items that have low consensus in that culture. We also examine those factors that influence the agreement on those kind of loving perceptions. And this model actually takes into account individual differences in decision-making styles. So whether someone is willing to guess or not, or whether they have a bias towards guessing true or false, all of that is taken into consideration as the consensus is derived from the data. We are also able to identify whether the population comes to a one-cultured agreement, or there are subcultures within that culture in terms of their consensus around these items. So we've already kind of conducted a study in the United States through the CCT framework. We came up with 60 everyday life scenarios that had the potential of making people feel loved. And we asked a representative sample of 495 people in the United States to tell us whether they feel like most people feel loved in each of these scenarios or not. And interestingly, we found that within the United States, scenarios such as someone shows compassion towards them in difficult times, a child snuggles up to them, their pet comes and greets them when they see them, and people telling you I love you are some of the most agreed upon scenarios in daily life for Americans as loving. And then we found that items that had a controlling theme around them, right, like someone wants to know where they are at all times, are agreed upon as non-loving in the United States. And so basically, through this method, we're able to kind of derive the shared beliefs within the people of the United States around what is believed as loving and what is believed as non-loving within that culture and nation. Next steps, thanks to the John Templeton Foundation and their support for our project, we are extending our research to go beyond the United States and go cross-cultural, because one of the biggest advantages of this approach is really kind of to get a better understanding of the way culture and societies inform people's beliefs on love. And we can only do that if we kind of go and research this in different cultures and try to see what is universal around these feelings of love in the everyday life and what is culturally specific. So for our next steps in this kind of 5-year grand project that we will be conducting, we will be going through 6 different countries around the globe, identified through their diversity in terms of their culture and religion and ways of life. And we want to kind of really understand what their shared beliefs on love are in those cultures, and whether there is a shared belief around love, and whether it's a one-cultured or multicultural, and how they might be similar or different to each other. We've already gone to Spain and collected our qualitative data. We've done our kind of immersive field work in Spain this year, and can't wait to report on that data in the near future. And we will be conducting the same studies in Brazil, Japan, India, Saudi Arabia, and Kenya in the coming years. All of this wouldn't have been possible without my fabulous group. This is us in Spain conducting our field work. My graduate students, my collaborators, both in the United States, in Pennsylvania, Dr. Zita Orvex, and also in Spain, Dr. Pandelos Parakakis, who have been helping us conducting this research in Spain, and hopefully in the coming countries too. This is it for me. Thank you so much for listening to my presentation. If you have any questions, or if you would like to collaborate on conducting this type of a study in your country and culture, please don't hesitate to email me. And also, we have a lab website that actually documents every step of this multi-year cross-cultural project. We have blogs that we kind of write about our journey, and please follow us, and please let us know your thoughts and whether you would like to collaborate. Thank you so much. Have a great day.